Hello, everyone. I am Sophia Worrell, and we have been looking at the life of a young boy who is being raised in an ideal family. Let us leave off from him and turn our attention on his sister for a moment. And let's talk about what it looks like raising a little girl on this day 21. We pick up the analogy of this ideal family from the moment that the mother and father are driving home from the hospital with the little girl and their little son. He is so excited that he's a big brother and loves his little sibling from the time he learned that his mother was pregnant. Now his sister has three persons talking to her mother, her father, and her older brother. It will take time to discern between all of them. The mother is now better prepared for those round the clock feedings, and with her son at school now, she gets a chance to manage the demands of her daughter without having to monitor two young kids at a time. Unlike her son, whose room was in blue, she now walks into a decorated room of pink and many soft toys displayed all around the room. Like her son, she reads daily to her daughter and watches as she grows completely diverse of her oldest brother. She does not have to ask for help from her daughter. Her daughter instinctively helps with chores and volunteers to do little tasks around the house. She loves the outdoors, but is drawn to butterflies and flowers instead of bugs and insects. She loves to soak in the little pool while her brother jumps around with the hose pointing at him, gushing powerful streams of water. She loves to play imaginary games with her dolls, while her brother loves anything on wheels. He loves animated cartoons that has anything to do with fighting, and she adores cartoons with princesses and fairies. They do have things in common as they both love to read, color, play all types of board games. And where the brother gravitated to activities that made him money, his sister is more interested in music. This time the mother is more vigilant and notices that her daughter prefers playing an instrument rather than singing. The mother observes the same first with her daughter and is just as excited to catch them all on camera or video. She cannot believe how anxious she was for her daughter to walk and talk and be potty trained. Then over time, she saw her daughter come alive literally at the sound of music. They introduced her to several instruments. First, of course, the piano, then string and wind instruments. And their daughter did well. Her love of music took them by surprise as neither of them felt musically inclined. Then, one day, the mother found the instrument that her daughter had gravitated to as this little girl was on the verge of 4 years old. When she tugged at her mother's arm to go into an instrument store for what caught her eye. Let's talk about chores for boys versus chores for girls. Unlike the plan that the father had for his son to do chores, he's now telling the mother that his daughter must be assisted in practicing her craft. She is never given an allowance. Her father, however, provided the funds for her to dress up for events after band practice, where the father was totally involved in his son's life as he did chores, tasks, and work. The mother now is totally overseeing the little girl. The mom is at every practice and every concert supporting her daughter. She's a chaperone if her daughter has to travel out of state or out of country. Her mother is the one to ensure that her daughter's clothing is well tailored and clean for events and that she has the right outfit for solos and recitals or in services. Mother has to be just as strategic in giving enough time with both kids as father is, and they work together to ensure both of them are being supervised and monitored in all of their activities and endeavors. And mother has to make sure that her daughter is keeping up with her studies. The daughter is so engrossed in her practice that she's not interested in going out and being carefree. Mother wonders how she would have been able to keep up with the schedule of her daughter if she was at work. She wondered if she would have been given the time off from work in order to be there for her daughter at a time when she needed her support so much. But since she's home, she finds that she can facilitate any appointment or spur of the moment request. Now she's in the role of manager and is thankful that she had completed her master's and had a working knowledge of being an executive assistant. This allows her to assist her daughter with her heavy schedules as her daughter presents her own gifts to the world. Just as when her son was being mischievous and her husband told her it was time to channel his energy, her daughter's interest was so subtle that she could have missed it after a long day from an exhausting day of work, and it happened so randomly. They were at the mall and her daughter shouted out at a display item. Her mother thought that it was another doll that she wanted or a pretty dress that she had seen in a store. But it was none of these. It was an instrument. The mother thought that if her daughter was with someone else, they would have probably deterred her daughter from what she was now pulling her mother towards. She was so glad that she was there to meet her daughter's request. Inside of the store, the daughter stared at the instrument as if it meant life and death to her, and after consulting with her husband, the mother brought the instrument, which led them down a path that they could never have thought for their daughter. But this is what God and her daughter chose as her purpose in life. If it were up to them as parents, they probably would have chosen something else, and needless to say, their daughter would have been miserable. Or the mother would have dressed her up in tutus and pushed her to sing songs. But her talent was not to act or dance, it was to play an instrument. And as they watched their daughter, that craft took her places they could never dream possible. Like her brother, the daughter did just as well in school. She maintained her GPA when she went to college, but instead of pursuing an academic career, this young girl went to the best art schools that money could afford. Her father spared no expense. By then, the mother had re-entered the workplace as now her children were both grown. Her daughter's aspirations were to become an accomplished artist, and that she did. She was phenomenal at the highest level after playing in church bands, school marching bands, and college orchestras. Her college career training allowed her to visit and volunteer with the best Broadway and theatrical shows and landed her the opportunity to play with many of the top orchestras in the country. Throughout her school life, she was not focused on earning money, although she did. She was paid handsomely when she finally played professionally. She traveled extensively and got to represent her church all over the country. She played for major events at school and traveled all over the world, giving concerts in every major city. In due course, her father stepped in and made sure that she managed her finances by also opening for her a bank account and telling her to save part of her money that she had earned. They sat down and had many talks, and her father was explicit about her needing to take advantage of all that she was experiencing because one day she would have to put it all on pause. He did not hide the fact that, just like her mother, it was necessary to be home for her to assist her children in finding their gifts as she did before resuming her career, and that it would be selfish to do otherwise. She did not fathom the thought of giving up all that she was doing. She couldn't fathom that thought to stay home with children, but was reminded by her mother that it was well worth the effort to facilitate her children finding their value and worth in life. When her daughter protested, the mother asked her daughter how she would have felt having to do a job that she did not like, instead of pursuing the passion that she had the full backing of her parents to do. Her daughter never looked at it that way. She was getting the best of both worlds. Not only was she getting to see many cities, but she was being paid to do so. And she still had her college education to fall back on, in that she had earned a master's degree and had the option to teach music if she could not play with an orchestra again. She was 25 years when she graduated, and her father told her that she had 5 years to work in preparation for her family. She did want to have what her father and mother had. They had a great marriage and was fully supportive of her and her brother. She did want to pass on the principles and values that she was taught, and saw the importance of being there to observe her family, and to quickly identify their skill set. She wanted to be with a man who would accept their gifts and talents and assist her in guiding them in the correct channels. She knew of many young people who fret about their present employment, and when she asked this, spoke dismissively of wanting to pursue other dreams but were pressed into certain jobs. They were miserable. She realized that her brother and she was fortunate to go in the direction that they did, with their father beside them every step of the way and their mom supporting them in all that they did. And she owed it all to her mother, who was at all of her recitals and traveled with her when to take care of her. Her next hurdle would be to find a young man who would complement her ideals and her upbringing and had a plan for her life. There are many of us of African descent that are now being stereotyped with those who act barbaric and unintelligent. Their thug-like behavior is not what we want represented of our culture anymore. This is not God's way. This is not the American way. It is time to build a culture that is peaceful, loving, and kind. Thank you.